Let me just quickly give you a list of 4 emotions that can change your life in one day. Emotions are powerful. Sometimes it doesn't take much to alter your whole life direction. Number 1, disgust. Powerful emotion. Disgust says, I have had it. See, that could be the day. The day you can say, I've had it. And whether you've had it with something small or something major, the day you can say, I've had it, may not be the day it ends, but the day it begins. That's what I said when that little Girl Scout left my door when I'm 25. I give her the big lie, she leaves, I say, I don't want to live like this anymore. I've had it with lying and being broke. Powerful day. The man's finally had it with mediocrity. He's had it with being a loser. He's finally had it with those awful sick feelings inside, knowing his wife is at the grocery store looking at 2 cans of beans, one marked 37 cents, one marked 39 cents. And the guy sick inside knows his wife's going to buy the 37-cent can, and she doesn't even like the brand. Do you know why she's going to buy the 37-cent can? To save 2 cents. The guy sick inside finally says, I've had it. Being on my knees in the dust looking for pennies? We're not living like this anymore. Could be the day that turns your life around. The day you can say, I've had it. He walks into his closet and rips everything in it to shreds and says, I've worn this embarrassing stuff for the last time. And not only will I never wear it again, no one else will ever wear it again. Commit an act that says, I've had it. Powerful. Here's the next one. Decision. And decision making is powerful. And it's emotional. That's those knots in the pit of your stomach, right? Waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, trying to decide. We sometimes call it inner civil war. What shall I do? Well, for progress, you must decide. The best advice I can give you came from a wealthy friend of mine who said, if it's easy, do it easy. If it's hard, do it hard. Just get it done. If you went home tonight and in the next few days cleaned up a whole list of decisions, that might furnish enough inspiration for the next 10 years. I found this out many times after you've decided. Getting on with it is easier than deciding. Sometimes decision is the toughest part. Here's the next emotion, desire, wanting to bad enough. And I don't know how to tell you to want to. That's something you've got to come up with. There's 2 things I know about desire. Number 1, it comes from inside, not outside. You don't send off for it. Number 2, I know desire can be triggered by something. Who knows what it might be? Sometimes desire waits and sleeps for something to happen. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a song, maybe it's a sermon, maybe it's a lecture, a seminar, maybe it's the conversation of a friend, a happening, an event. Who knows? The best advice I can give you is what I give my staff. It goes like this: welcome every human experience. You never know which one is going to turn it all on. Even the bad experiences. Sometimes from the bitterest experience comes the greatest awakening. So let down the barriers, take down the walls. The same wall that keeps out disappointment keeps out happiness. Let life touch you. Don't let it kill you, but let it touch you. Here's the last one. This one's powerful. Resolve. Resolve says, I will. 2 of the most powerful words in the language. I will. Benjamin Disraeli once said, nothing can resist a human will that will stake even its existence on the extent of its purpose. Shortly put, I'll do it or die. See, that's powerful. That could be the day that turns your life around. The world has a strange way of stepping aside when somebody says, I'll do it or die. The man says, I will climb the mountain. They've told me it's too high, it's too far, it's too rocky, it's too difficult, it's never been done before, but it's my mountain, I will climb it. Pretty soon you'll see me waving from the top. or dead on the side, because I ain't coming back. The best definition I ever got from the word resolve came from a little junior high girl in Foster City, California, up north. I'm talking to the junior high kids one day. I love to ask kids definitions. They come up with beauties. I got to the word resolve and I asked, who can tell me what resolve means? And I got several hands, and they were all pretty good, but the last one was the best. Little girl, about 3 rows back, held up her hand. She said, Mr. Rohn, I think I know what resolve means. I said, darling, what do you think it means? She said, I think it means promising yourself you will never give up. I said, that's it. Webster, stand aside. That is the definition. Promise yourself you will never give up. I asked the kids, how long should a baby try to learn how to walk? How long? How long would you give your average baby before you shut him off? How long? See, any mother in the world would say, you're crazy. My baby's going to keep trying until it learns how to walk. What a magic formula. Now let me show you what triggers all emotions into activity that brings results. And results is the name of the game. Here it is. Action. Finally, you must do something about how you feel. Jesus, the master teacher, said, don't just be listeners, be doers. The world admires the doers.
What will it take for me to get some of the things that I want? And being hungry for those things. Number one, you've got to work on yourself. It's very important that you engage in an ongoing process to develop you. Spend more time on yourself than what you've been spending. It's very important. You owe that to yourself. I was reading a book by Og Mandino called The University of Success. Read one line, gave me a chill. I didn't have to read anything else in the book. He said, many of us never realize our greatness because we become sidetracked by secondary activity. We spread ourselves too thin, don't know how to say no. And we find ourselves doing all kinds of things and never ever have time to do those things that we need to do to work on ourselves. And then there goes a second, there goes another second, there goes another second, and we can't stop and hold time. And before you know it, you wake up one day and you're behind on your dreams and your bills. So decide that you're going to take some time to work on you, that you deserve that from yourself, that your life deserves some prime time. Because you are creating your own production, as Michael Todd would say. You are the star of your show. You are the director. You're writing the script. And you will determine whether your life is a smash office hit or flop. You determine that. Working on yourself, talking to yourself. That's so very important. Overcoming the negative conversation, that inner dialogue that's going on all the time. Even when you don't want it to be there. You can't stop yourself right now from thinking. You can't do it. It's going on. And so learning how to empower yourself, part of doing that is standing up to yourself. You've got to stand up inside yourself sometimes and say, shut up! You've got to do this. I was going to give a presentation, and this voice inside of me saying, you can't do this. You don't have everything it takes. I shut up! I'm behind on my bills and you're telling me what I can't do. I have got to do it. You'll get scared sometimes. Your mind will go blank on you. Some people you will allow to unnerve you, and you wonder, what's wrong with me? I'm not crazy. That's why you've got to learn to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to stand up inside yourself. Working on yourself, watching that inner dialogue, it will determine the quality of your life. I don't believe this, I know this. So you have got to stand up to that voice. When you're working on something you want to achieve, you have got to stand up to that voice. You've got to sell yourself every day on your abilities, on what you're doing, on the goal that you want to reach. You've got to sell yourself every day, according to your level of belief. It will manifest itself in what you're doing. Whatever we have right now, whatever we're demonstrating in our lives, is a result of what we believe subconsciously that we deserve. And part of increasing that belief level is that you have got to convince yourself every day. And as you convince you, as you sell yourself every day, you will begin to see a difference in the things that you're doing. Selling yourself on your ability to perform a job, to achieve a certain objective. Telling yourself every day, here I go again. and I got what it takes. This is my day, and nothing out here is going to stop me.
Hey, sugar. Good evening, everybody. Man, I wanted to share that message with you all to hopefully inspire you as we continue to move forward through this journey, right? Because you have to continuously talk to yourself, tell yourself, motivate yourself, inspire yourself into your purpose, your destiny, walk into your greatness. And that, like the video said, you're going to be challenged with all kinds of obstacles that's going to stand in your way to try and convince you that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or that you can't accomplish the goal at hand. But let me be the first to tell you, if you haven't already heard it, you can do this. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to. It's just a simple mindset. And with that being said, as I start all of our calls, I like to say, hey, NSA. So as before we get started, I always start our calls just to let everybody know that I am not a financial advisor. I am not here to give you financial advice as to how to invest your money. I am simply here to give you some information, some insight, share some experiences with you, share some tools, some techniques that you can use, that you can add to your arsenal, to your repertoire, to your tools, so that you too can become a master trader by the end of our 52 weeks. So as I start all of our calls, and as you know, we have modified and transformed to get us to a place where we need to be.
Yeah, we had a family situation with my boyfriend.
In order to share with everyone where your mindset needs to be in order to be a master trader. I start all of our calls with our daily affirmation. I am so thankful and grateful now that I have confidence, patience, and discipline so that I am a master trader. And I hope that you all are starting to develop those 3 life skills, because that's what it's going to take in order to get you to the proper mindset and skill set in order to become a master trader. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Jacqueline Lopez, and I am the first educator for the 52 Weeks to Freedom course. And this is class number 5. And I want to welcome you all to the call as we do each class each week. And I'm just excited to hear from all of you. Is it anyone that wants to share just a little bit about what you guys have been learning, and if you guys have been successful at applying the information thus far?
Okay. Hi, Jackie. It's Zenja. How are you?
Hey, sugar.
First and foremost, going over the swap and those fees associated was mind-blowing, and literally changed the time of days that I was looking in the markets and trading. So that was huge. And then understanding the correlating pairs. And different ways they move. The one specifically for me is gold versus USD, and then USD and the Japanese yen. So really digging deep into why that is has really helped. So thank you for that information.
You're welcome, sugar. You're welcome. I'm glad. That's just one of the things that you guys should be picking up on as you start to study your pairs and narrow down which pair it is that you're going to focus in on, so that you too can master this skill set. Because trying to tackle it all by yourself is just way too much. and is extremely overwhelming. So if you apply the information that we're learning each week to one skill set, one pair set, and then notice how that actually correlates with the other pairs, as you continue this journey, you too will always be able to see and learn more and more how much we really don't know. All right, so I know this is a big class and I want to get things started right off the bat, and I want to jump right into it, so I'm not going to hold off or waste any time. I
Hey,
am.
Sugar, I just
Yes,
wanted to
go
make
ahead.
sure you were recording this.
I am.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes, because this week is very, very, very important, right? I am interested to find out, is there anyone on the call who does not know what the ATR is?
I don't know what that is.
All right. Is there more people that don't know, or is there more people that do know?
Yeah, I'm driving. I don't know what it is either.
Okay, good. Because I want to be able to provide you with some information that's going to be useful to you that you haven't come in contact with yet. And believe me, once I show you the power of the ATR and what it's used for, man, believe me, getting ready to be game changer. All right, so check it out. The ATR, or average true range, right? The importance of it. It gives the trader an opportunity to trade with greater confidence and less emotion. And I know you got to be asking yourself, okay, well, Jacqueline, how does that work? How does it do that? How does it provide me with greater confidence? And how does it help me control my emotions? Well, it helps you forecast the average weekly pip count. What does that mean? It actually gives you the average number of pips that each pair will typically give out on a weekly basis. Say that again. The ATR is a tool that we are going to use in order to calculate the average weekly pip count for each pair, so that you know how many pips each pair typically will give out on a weekly basis. And it's going to provide you the opportunity to give you some rules that you're going to need to be able to follow, so it sets the standard, right? Because as we know, you should be following your trading plan. You should be following, right? You're making sure that you have a proper journal. Those things are going to come in handy. Why? What's the relevance of it? One, it's going to give you accountability. It's going to develop your discipline. It's going to obviously teach you some patience. It's going to show you proper leverage and risk management, so that you know which pairs are moving faster than others, which ones give out more pips than others, right? It's also going to help you with setting your weekly pip goals. You should be already knowing how many pips a week you want to be able to earn. And if you know how many pips each pair is giving out, then you know how many pips you can earn off of each one of your pairs. It's going to help you keep a log of your weekly trends, so that you know what direction is that pair moving in over the course of a week. Not just the 15 minutes, not just the hour, not just the 4 hour, but on the larger time frame. We're starting to look at this from a professional trader's point of view. We're transitioning from a retail trader to a professional trader, because we're learning how many pips each pair is going to give out on a weekly basis, which is one of the things that the market makers and the banks and the corporations and the professional financial advisors are looking at. And as you're keeping your log, it's going to also help you see reversal patterns in the market. You're going to be looking for the dojis and other candlestick patterns like the engulfing candle, and making note of those things on a weekly basis. Now, this is all math. It's a simple math calculation. You need to be able to manually calculate this. And I've given us 2 examples using 2 different pairs. And what I've decided to do is to start this from the beginning of 2020. And we're going to record the ATR for each week, for each pair up until our current week. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to take the high of the week and we're going to subtract the low of the week, and it's going to give us the number of pips that that pair gave out over the course of that week. So for example, EUR-USD, the week of January 6, 2020, the high was 1.12057 and the low was 1.10850. And it gave out 120.7, 121 pips for the week of January 6, 2020. Does everybody understand how I got that?
Yes.
All right. All of your pairs will typically be that type of mathematical calculation. I gave you a JPY calculation because if you notice, you should have already paid attention to when calculating your pips for the JPY pairs, it is different based on your decimal placement. So if you notice, GBP JPY, the week of January 6, 2020, the high was 143.498. The low was 140.835. And it gave out 266.3 or 266 pips. Does everybody understand that? And I'm going to go through exactly how we're going to calculate it and figure it out together. Screenshot it if you don't have it. And I'll be adding it into the study groups to make sure everybody else gets it with the recording. Now, when we're looking at the weekly time frame, we're going to be looking for the overall trend. Is that weekly candle bullish? Is it bearish? Right? We also want to know, is the overall trend consolidating or flatline? We want to know whether or not the candle is bearish and bullish in addition to the overall trend. And we want to know, is the weekly candle that we're currently in one of the reversal candles, so that we can make a note of it, which will give us another confirmation that a potential reversal is going to happen. And I've already created an ATR tracker for us to actually use and put all of the information into. All right. So check it out. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So if you notice, I've already created a weekly ATR tracker. I've done it in a 4-week, an 8-week, and 12 weeks, which will cover the first 3 blocks, right, of the 52 weeks, or the first year, right, of this year. So it'll cover January, February, March, right, all the way until we get to our 12 weeks. Now, if you notice, I actually broke it down so it gives you each one of the currency pairs. It allows you to put in how many pips for the week that pair gave out, and then it will automatically calculate the average pip count for the week based on the number of weeks worth of data that we have. So for example, for the 4 weeks of January, AUD CAD, right, was typically giving out 128 pips a week. And if you notice, there's some influctuation in that, right? And it's going to be because of different things that happen in the market. And as you study your pairs, you'll know what happened during those weeks to cause whether the pip count went up or went down, right? If you also notice, I color coded it. So if the pips or the trend, the weekly candle, is moving in a downward direction, it's red. So it gave out 175 pips to the downside for that week. And if it goes up, then the number is blue. And if you notice, I put in EUR USD, which is the one that we did as the example, and GBP JPY 266, which is the first week, which we did as the example. Now, we're going to go through this together so that we can practice some of these calculations so it's recorded so that you can go back and actually fill out this form. Because it's going to be very important that you know how many pips a pair is given out on a weekly basis. And we can actually test it, calculating what the current week has already given out right now today, which is Wednesday, so that we know typically how many pips that pair should be giving out for the rest of the week. So we know whether or not a pair is a valid trade setup if it's already giving out the pips that it's moving and it's typically supposed to give out. All right. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to go to TradingView. All right. So what was that? It was, what did we use? EUR USD? EUR USD? So I'm just going to place this vertical line right here so that we know where the beginning of the year started, which is that first week, January 6, 2020, right? And if we all notice, that candle is what? What type of candle is it?
A doji.
A doji, right? And what does the doji symbolize?
A reversal.
A sign of a reversal. And what happened? It reversed. Right? Now remember, this is on a weekly basis. This is a week's time frame now. What we're going to do is, or what we've done, let me put it back here. You place your crosshair or your cursor on the candle, that weekly candle. And if you notice, there are a series of numbers at the top of the screen underneath compare and indicators and financials. Does everyone see those numbers? Next to Hakanashi.
Yes.
If you notice, when I move my cursor, those numbers change. You see that?
Yes.
Yes.
If you place your cursor on a candle, if you notice the number that has the H in front of it, that number is the high of that candle. If you notice the number that has the L in front of it, that is the low for that candle. And if you notice, it also gives you a number that has an O, which is for open. That is the price that that candle opened at. And if you notice, there is a number with a C in front of it. That is the price that that candle closed at. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Yes.
So what we're doing is we're placing our cursor on the candle that we want to calculate. And what we do is we take the high, which is what I told you was 1.12057, and we subtract the low, which is 1.10850, and that gives us the number of pips that EURUSD gave out during the week of January the 6th, 2020. Does everyone understand that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
One other thing that you'll want to make note of or pay attention to is if you forget what color the candle was, right? Notice that when the cursor changes over the candle, those numbers change in color too. So if the candle is blue, the numbers are blue. If the candle is red, the numbers are red. Everyone see that?
Are we using Hakanashi candles too?
Yes. And we'll touch more on the Hakanashis versus the regular Japanese candles when doing this as well, because there's something that I want to point out. All right, so let's calculate this next week just so that we got it recorded and you guys get the practice of it. I'm going to need your help with this. Someone's going to have to record these numbers, and then we're going to share my calculator so that we can actually calculate it together and record it in the tracker. All right. Now, for the week of January 13th, 2020, the high was 1.11726. The low was 1.10862. Does someone have the numbers? Y'all see my calculator?
Yep.
All right. Who's got the high? Anybody?
It's 1.11726.
Minus?
That's 1.10862.
$86.4 pips. Everybody see that?
Yep.
86.4. So 86 pips, right? And that was EURUSD. 86 pips. Was it blue or red?
Was red.
Red. All right. Let's finish the 4 weeks for EURUSD just so we can see what it is. All right. January 20th, 2020. The high, 1.11300. The low, 1.10198. Got it?
Say it one more time. I can't see it well.
The high is 1.11300 and the low is 1.10198.
The low?
1.10198. And it's red. What's the high?
1.11300.
Minus
1.10198.
110.2, 110 pips, right? Was it red? It was red, right?
Red, yeah.
All right. January 27th, 2020. The high, 1.10967. The low, 1.0994. And it's red.
Stop acting like you didn't hear me.
What was the high?
1.10967.
Minus
1.09924.
104.3 pips. 104.3, right? 104 pips. EURUSD typically averages 105 pips a week, right? Based on the 4 weeks of January. And if you notice, it wasn't that far off. Look, right before it got ready to switch directions, right? It gave out more than what it typically does. It started off slow and it started gaining momentum, right? And now it's back typically where it is. And as we continue to track it, you'll notice that it gets closer and closer to typically giving out what your ATR is. And guys, it's not gonna give you it's not an exact science, right? It's just as another tool to help you know that if EURUSD typically only gives out roughly about 100 pips in a week, and you have a trade set up that is calling for EUR USD to give out 200-300 pips, that's not going to happen typically in a week's worth of time, because that pair takes a lot longer for that amount of pips to be produced because of the volume within that pair. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Once we
Yes.
complete the chart, you'll know which pair gives out the most pips and which pair gives out the least pips. And you'll be able to determine roughly how many pips you can go for in the course of a week on one particular pair. And we already know that the GBP pairs typically give out the most pips. Just as a nugget, right? All right. GBP JPY was the other one that we had, wasn't it? So look at the size of those candles on the GBP JPY pair. This is a weekly chart. Still set up with the sauce, right? I just have it expanded. But even on the sauce, look, from the cross, blue was on top, blue was on top, blue was on top. How many pips is that? That's 1,600 pips to the upside in 98 days. On a weekly chart. And if you notice, February 24th, the week of, it crossed going to the downside. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
And if you notice, the current week that we're in right now is right here on the 50, right? It actually retesting the 50 because it broke it last week. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Here's another cheat sheet. Take your measuring stick and pull it from the top to the bottom of your candle. Look at that. $751 pips in 7 days. Right? And what week is that? That's this week. It's already given that out. What did it give out last week? 568. So as you can see, GBP JPY gives out a lot of pips on a weekly basis. The ATR is telling us how many pips on average it gives out. If we know that GBP JPY typically gives out 500 pips in a week, every week, moving in one direction or another, then it would be safe to say that if this thing is moving in a downward direction, the sauce is confirming a sell, then it would be safe to say that next week could potentially be a sell as well. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Yes.
And if we know that it's selling for the entire week, and we know that each week is going to give out at least 500 pips in any one direction, then it would be safe to assume that we could potentially catch 500 pips on this one pair moving in the downward direction if it continues to the downside. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
All right. So what you're going to need to do, and I'm going to show you guys what it is that my notes look like. Check it out. I wrote down the week, the high, and the low for each pair for each week up until this week, from January 6, 2020 to March 2nd, 2020. And we're going to fill in, right? We're going to fill in the tracker. I used the Hakanashi candles. And if you notice, I made a record of what color that candle was, whether it was red or whether it was blue, so that we can start seeing the patterns in the trend, right, for the pairs. And as you start studying your pairs and you start learning how to basket them, then you'll start to notice that if one is moving in a downward direction, then it might be safe to say that one of the others is moving in a similar fashion. And once you figure out which two are moving together, you'll know the other two are moving in the opposite direction. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So then what we're going to do is I'm going to share the tracker into our study groups to make sure everybody has them, to make sure that you're able to just pick up where I left off, right? And I'll actually show you how far I got. So I did the 4 weeks. I've started 8 weeks. And if you notice, AUD CAD, let's see, for the 4 weeks was averaging about 128 pips. Based on 8 weeks worth of time, 8 weeks worth of data, it's more like 144 pips. So the more data that we have, the more accurate the ATR will become. And if you notice, it's going to start to give us a pretty picture as to how to go about using this. And then I'm going to start moving forward each week and tracking it so that we have a more accurate account of where we're at, so that we know exactly which pair gives out the most pips and which pair gives out the least. So what our homework assignment is going to be is we're going to be calculating the ATR for all of the currency pairs, because it's going to be important to know which team has the one that gives out the most, which one has the one that gives out the least. We're going to also want to know, based on your study groups, which pair gives out the most, which one gives out the least. You're going to want to become so intimate with your charts, like David Will says, it's like having a relationship with them. You're going to know how they move, when they move, why they move, right? You're going to want to study your pairs. And you're going to start to fall in love with one. You're going to start loving the way that it moves. Some of them wick a lot. Some of them don't. Some of them give out large engulfing candles. Some of them don't. Some of them consolidate a lot before they give you a breakout. Some of them don't. Some of them are smooth. They trend to trend. They go up, they go down. They go up, they go down, like a roller coaster ride. But the only way you're going to know that is to start studying them, back testing, practicing in demo. right? Studying the sauce, becoming aware of how you can use the sauce on multiple time frames to give you a better picture of what each pair is going to do over the course of time, and help you figure out what type of trader you really are. Continue following your trading plan and staying plugged in. Make sure you ask questions. Closed mouths don't get fed, guys. If we don't know you're not understanding something, we don't know that you're not understanding the information or not being able to apply it, it's no good to you. Just to have the information and not be able to use it is not going to get you the results that you're looking for. Do y'all have any questions as it relates to the ATR or anything that I talked about this evening?
No.
All right. Then I will share the recording as well as the ATR tracker and any screenshots that I think will be beneficial to you in the study group so that you guys can use it as another part of your arsenal when doing your weekly analysis and preparing for each week's trade setups. All right, guys, I love you all, and I hope that this provides you with some additional value to use so that you too can become a master trader. Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great call.